Tony Touch, Charter member, the 3rd of August 2008, 0:31 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. CH trip report the 31st of July 2008. One alone would have been odd, but two was downright disturbing. Two separate dreams about two separate crazy horse dancers in 1 week just didn't make sense because, 1, I'm not one to have dreams about dancers, and 2, my only thoughts, in recent weeks, about strip clubs was why haven't I thought more about strip clubs? I decided to make a trip to CH before I was confronted by another one of these unexplained abstractions, especially since it's a known fact that these things come in threes. I was excited but also found it somewhat disquieting that one moment I'm going about my business and the next, like some sort of Manchurian PL, a switch goes off and I'm mindlessly cutting through traffic on 101 and buzzing by cars trying to get to a destination I recently abandoned. I get to CH, push the door open, look up and see a list of familiar names, a few new ones too. Just below the cashier is leaning on his elbow, and to his right an old man embarrassingly losing his cool as he paws a seemingly unamused Paradise. The man apologizes for not being able to control himself, then continues to scratch. I can't say I'd blame him though. Paradise was looking great, resplendent in that feature glow. I lately found out that old man is Stutterman Ben, $25. No player discount for me. Must be an oversight. I'm sure I'll get taken care of on the way out. Not haven't been there for a while. I knew my resistance would be weak and I'd blow through my cash if I sat in the general seating area too soon. So I bulldozed through the hallway and headed directly for the stage side seats where I took in a few lively shows. The first one belonged to Taylor, a new girl to me. She had a giggly smile that seemed to always be right below the surface. Often while trying to be sexy on stage, it would reveal itself. She seemed to have a nice personality, but physically, I thought she was quite average. Her body was a little doughy, her hair, that stretched down to the middle of her back, was blonde, but the brown roots and dark pussy stubble suggested that was not her natural color. After about a half an hour up front, I was ready to be corrupted. I moved away from the stage and was approached by Jackie. Even though I kept my head down as I walked in, I couldn't help but notice her tight, tan body. Without hesitation I took her up on her LD offer, but just as quickly as I had said yes, I regretted my decision. She left me behind. No joke, before I could even get up out of my seat, Jackie was already getting fingerprinted. I wasn't expecting her to put me on her back and lug me to the LD room, but a slow get-to-know-you walk and talk would have been nice. If it were later in the night, I would have followed but just kept straight and headed out the door. Or a year or two ago, I would have said, "Fuck you," and just slouched back in my seat. But that night I gave in and caught up to her. Winded, I pointed to a seat in the corner. Things didn't get much better. "So you've been here before?" she accused. Yeah, that was the extent of our conversation. After eyeballing me, she began the dance. I'll admit after a slow start, she hit the right spots, had a nice grind, with her back turned to me, and allowed a decent amount of touching. Overall, a pretty clinical experience. The song ended and, to her credit, Jackie asked if I had all my stuff before speed walking out of the LD room. Okay, I've had rough starts before, no need to panic. I was seated as Taylor came up the aisle. She skipped past me, stopped, stepped back, then dropped her head in front of mine and asked for a dance. She looked so happy, I couldn't imagine saying no. We chatted a bit and the dance began. It was okay to start. The excitement of sitting with someone new always masks shortcomings. However, after a minute it became clear this wasn't going to be a good experience. Taylor did the dreaded bouncy LD thing, and while changing positions to get a better bounce, she stabbed me with her black stilettos. Ouch. After apologizing, she continued. Unfortunately, the up and down grind consistently missed the mark and began to remind me of those massages in which an unskilled massage repeatedly needs one spot during the whole massage. The dance ended, and I was happy for the first time in 3 minutes. Panicked, I thought maybe it was me, not horses. Maybe my strip club days had truly come to an end. and nothing would be able to satisfy me. Or maybe I just needed to stop fucking around and find someone who would give me a LD with balls. Callas and I have an interesting history. Months and months ago, as she escorted me to our first LD, she ran her fingers under my shirt and cooed. Oh, I knew you wouldn't have any hair on your back. Huh? Some months later, she greeted me not with a smile or a wave, but with about 5 or 6 full forced whacks to the back of my head, and in between, there were a couple of other strange episodes. However, whatever she lacks in congeniality, she makes up with LD intensity. Callas, while still very petite, seemed to have added a little more girth to her small frame. When I last saw her, she had trouble filling out the tiniest of outfits. Not on Thursday night, though. She fit her green and pink two-piece bikini perfectly. My eyes followed her curly brown hair from the backstage curtain, past strippers row, up the aisle, right to my lap. I had turned her down the past few times she asked for a LD, but I needed one tonight, so I started babbling, making excuses for my previous reluctance. Callas waited for me to shut up, then bent down slowly, grabbed my collar, pulled my lips within an eyelash's distance of hers and breathed. So you wanted a lap dance? Or you gon' play? Damn, nobody is a better throw down the gauntlet sales pitch than Callas. I responded, I'm not gon' play. I'm not going to play. Let's go. In the LD room, she jumped me. As soon as I got seated, Callas jumped on my lap, began a vigorous dance. She first tried to do it with shoes on, but could tell I needed a deep tissue LD, so she tossed her shoes to the side and dug her little feet into the ratty couch to get better traction. Callas dances like porno guys fuck. She finds a spot, pounds away for a while, then switches it up. She ended by guiding my hands over her A-plus cups and down her thighs. Little body. Thank you, baby, she said as she slid her shoes back on. I found a seat stage side just in time to catch Jessie explode onto the stage. I've been an admirer of hers for quite some time, but I'm embarrassed to say I can't describe her. Whenever I look at her, I don't see any facial features, skin tone, tattoos, none of that distracting stuff. Just a sexy silhouette effortlessly holding a pose that most women couldn't shoehorn themselves into. 715 days ago, during one of Jessie's stage show, we made eye contact. I figured that would be enough to indicate my interest. So, after her set was complete, I sat patiently in the audience in anticipation of the customary approach and LD request. I waited and waited. Nothing. No, she wasn't in the back. She was just a few feet away. I smiled. She smiled back and looked away. Okay, maybe she was already booked. How foolish of me to think that a girl so badass wouldn't have them lined up out the door. After sitting there for another 20 minutes and seeing her in the same spot, I realized that wasn't the case. So I smiled again. Didn't work. I must have looked too eager. I looked at her straight face and tight-lipped. Nothing. Must have been too serious. Maybe she needs to see me having fun. I threw my head back and chuckled like I had just said something witty. Note, that move probably works better when you're not sitting alone. Must have been too weird. She went backstage. I convinced myself that Jessie simply doesn't approach PLs. When she re-emerged from the back, I was immediately proved wrong. She went up and down the aisle and started asking PLs for dances. I thought, perhaps, I wasn't in her demo. Then to my horror, she propositioned some motherfucker who looked just like me. Same style of dress, same age, etc. If it weren't for the fact that I'm tall, fit, and strikingly handsome, we could have been twins. Something was wrong here, and that's where this thing started. This ritual of me getting excited, waiting, then nothing, has repeated itself over and over again. I know. Some of you are saying, are you kidding me? Are you in fucking high school? Just go up to her and ask for a dance. Yes, you are correct. And with certain girls in certain situations, I do. But this is my fantasy. More importantly, this is a fantasy that I spend good money on. And in my make-believe world, everything is to be just so. Back to Thursday night. Jessie is up on stage looking as good as I've ever seen her. She makes her way towards me. I gaze upwards and sigh, knowing where this is headed. I can't help myself though and continue to bury her feet with folded dollars. She looks down and my eyes open so wide, she could have seen inside of me. Something's different tonight. After Jessie's set, instead of retreating to the main seating area, I sit and take in the scenery. About 15 to 20 guys in the crowd, a few walk in as a few walk out. The flow is constant. The crowd is diverse. On strippers' row, flip phones open. Their displays glow bright blue in the dark. Strippers make their rounds, and I'm convinced Destiny is the best ass in the universe. Mango, on the other side of the street, is madly in love with Cappuccino. Next up was Mariah, white hot in her white top as she strutted on stage. Her show has evolved so much, it was almost unrecognizable to me. In the past, it seemed like she was trying to be sultry and seductive, but often came off as bored and aloof. On Thursday, however, she put on an erotic drama that was pitch perfect. Her slow but deliberate moves had everyone on the edge of their seats, especially Mango Ice Cream. As she dipped her hands into her panties, I heard boisterous conversations trail off into dead silence. I imagined her pulling at her fingers and writing in the air, in bold letters, "Fuck me." However, she's not nasty, she's a seductress. Fuck me, if you can. Mariah is undeniably hot, but I ain't buying her a water. Actually, the last couple of times she approached me for a LD, I've turned her down. I guess she's not accustomed to hearing no because she responds to my rejection with an awkward look like she just walked in on somebody taking a mean shit, a mixture of surprise and mild disgust. When I say no, I know some PL behind me is laughing and saying, "Look at that sorry fucko over there." That's fine. I know what I like and Mariah doesn't typically do it for me in LD room. Although, after seeing her stage show, I might have given her a shot if I hadn't already swung and missed with Jackie and Taylor. So no, I wouldn't buy her water, but if their bottle fell to the floor, I might stop it with my foot. I'd probably pick it up too. I'd pick it and hand it to her. Okay, I'd pick it up, rub it on my crotch, and then hand it to her. It was getting late, and after an extremely satisfying LD with Lena and had yet again given up on Jessie, I was almost ready to call it a night. That's right when Olivia appeared. I can't say no to her and I think in my whole history of STRP clubbing, she's the only girl I've never responded with a no. Maybe later, or not today. I've been close though. It seems like she can tell when she's losing me and at that point she will take it up a notch. So after seeing me walk out the LD room with a booming smile, she stopped dogging it, made her way to me and thrust herself onto my lap. After a few minutes of talking, we were in the LD room. Olivia runs a tight lap. Even an old-timer like me gets sternly reminded to empty the pockets. Bruises can be a bitch. The dance starts and it's more of a boob dance than a lap dance. Don't get me wrong, she delivers with a decent grind but man, she loves using her multi-purpose boobs. She rubbed them on my face, chest, stomach, and lap. At one point, I thought she was going to shine my shoes with those lovely tits. As the dance wound down, she pushed closer, caressed me slowly, and looked at me more intently. I've never had a PS with Olivia before. That's right, never had a PS with the sexiest. I say the sexiest woman on the West Coast. Never had a PS with the 5-foot girl with the 6-foot boobs and wondered if tonight was going to be the night. As she leaned in, I expected her to whisper in my ear and suggest that we move to a more private setting so we could continue the fun. I looked towards the PS room and pictured us walking hand in hand to the very last stall. She pulled the curtain shut. Then, weeks later, I'd re-emerge, grinning, pockets rabbit-eared. She continued toward me. She didn't go for my ears though. She stopped short and softly finished the dance like she hadn't ever before. Before heading home, I wanted to collect myself, so I sat in the back row and contemplated whether or not on my next trip, I should finally go all in with Olivia. I looked to my left and saw, leaning against the DJ booth, this hot, Asian dancer. She had long playful hair, and an absolutely stunning outline. It was Jessie, and everything was just so. Sometimes, stubborn habits gradually fade away, and sometimes, they snap like bones. This was the latter. I waved her over and she pointed to herself and seemed to mouth, "Me? No, the fucking DJ." I thought, but wouldn't dare dream of saying that after all it took to get to this point. I suggested the LD and off we went. I felt a slight tingle in my gut, something I hadn't felt in a strip club for some time and nothing this strong since I first touched the magic at that place down the street, Mango's Cesspool. The nervousness went away though. Jessie, while being impossibly sexy, is also calm and cool. Cooler than the other side of the pillow, and just as soft. The LD room had been busy all night, but we found ourselves alone. She sat me in the corner and started to dance. The grind was amazing, too amazing in fact. With each move, I entered ever-deepening levels of delight and illusion. In the quiet LD room, I closed my eyes to escape, but was drawn in deeper. I heard a voice, so I opened my eyes. Jessie's lips weren't moving though. I shut my eyes and heard it again. Why have you stayed from me for so long? I forced myself to stay present, so I looked directly into her eyes and there they were locked on mine like she expected it. Jessie positioned herself perfectly on my lap and rocked so smoothly and so deeply that it felt like we were fucking raw. I had to break eye contact a couple of times to make sure we weren't. Of course we weren't. We were both fully clothed and everything was tucked away in its proper place, but sometimes when the brain is engaged, the little head is easily deceived. The dance was over, and I pulled myself from the couch like I pull myself out of bed on a Monday morning. I could have gotten more dances, but I fear I would still be there if I continued. Jessie thanked me and headed out of the LD room. I followed and was surprised to see a life-sized poster of Jessie hanging on the wall. That's odd. I thought that's where Terry Weigel usually stands. I exited CH and was stunned to see stutter-sized posters of Jessie covering the buildings. Phantasmic orange and pink-hued posters of various shapes and sizes lined along the mid-market street corridor. I couldn't get her out of my head. Even the whatnots on Golden Gate had little Jessies in their eyes.